Just pause right here. Close your eyes for a second. Breathe deeply. Then, let it go. Imagine this moment. The world outside, Kunotsa, fades. The noise silences. Your body falters. Your heart stops its rhythm. Your brain, the complex machine, and flickers. The breath that defined you is gone. The machines beside you scream, then flatline. The room minutes ago filled with urgency goes silent. A profound, heavy stillness. And yet, against all you've been taught, you are still there, watching. From above, floating. Completely, undeniably aware. And in that moment, removed from the confines of flesh and bone for the first time in your entire existence, you feel completely awake. Not awake from sleep, but awake to reality. A reality far vaster, far stranger than the one you just left. It sounds impossible, like a fairy tale, a dream conjured by a desperate mind. But thousands upon thousands of people in America have lived this exact moment, have died, been pronounced clinically deceased, and then, against all odds, returned. And what they bring back with them, clutched tight in their consciousness, isn't something science in its current form can dissect or explain. It's something far older, far deeper than the physical world, and terrifyingly beautiful in its implication. They call it the near-death experience, a term chosen for its proximity to the end. But what if that term itself is the greatest misunderstanding? What if it's not near death at all? What if it's not an approach to the end, but an approach to truth? To the fundamental nature of existence you were simply meant to remember? The modern journey into this began quietly. In 1975, a psychiatrist named Dr. Raymond Moody published a book that dared to collect these whispered tales. Life After Life. In it, he shared over 100 detailed case studies of people who had technically died, cardiac arrest, severe trauma, irreversible coma, but came back with stories so consistent, so vivid, so filled with impossible detail. They couldn't be dismissed as mere hallucination. Since then, the reports have multiplied exponentially. Millions of Americans from every walk of life, from every belief system or lack thereof, have surfaced from the brink with eerily similar memories. Not dreams, not drug-induced states, not fantasies, something else entirely, something that feels more real than life itself. Let me tell you about Dr. Mary Neal, an orthopedic spine surgeon from Wyoming. Her life built on logic, her profession rooted in tangible facts, her understanding of the body absolute. But one afternoon while kayaking in Chile, her logical fact-based reality shattered. She was pulled under a powerful waterfall and pinned there for nearly 30 agonizing minutes. She drowned, clinically completely gone. No breath, no pulse, no hope. And yet, in that moment of absolute physical finality, she says she felt no panic, no struggle. Instead, she felt herself leave her body, rising above the water, watching the desperate attempts to save her. And then, she was greeted by what she calls spiritual beings. They had no physical form she could describe, but they felt overwhelmingly familiar. Like family she never knew she had, welcoming her home. Time didn't exist there, she recounted. They communicated without words, and they told me clearly it wasn't my time yet, that I had more work to do. When she came back, pulled from the river, resuscitated, the fire in her lungs, the pain of the return was unbearable. But something fundamental in her heart, in her very soul, was forever changed. She no longer feared death. How could she? She had seen what came next, and it was not an ending. Then there's Dr. Eben, a world-renowned Harvard neurosurgeon, a man who believed implicitly that consciousness was solely a product of brain activity. Nothing more. He didn't believe in anything beyond the brain, until a rare form of bacterial meningitis attacked his own brain, shutting it down completely. His cerebral cortex, the very seat of consciousness, language, thought, was inactive, non-functional. He lay in a deep, unresponsive coma. Doctors saw no hope. They prepared his family for the inevitable goodbye. But inside that silent, inactive brain, he woke up. He remembers floating in a place of infinite expanse, where time had no meaning, surrounded by music that was felt, not heard, a vibration of pure joy and connection, and a spinning iridescent orb of light that radiated pure knowing, pure love. He describes being guided through this realm by a woman he'd never met in this life, a figure of exquisite beauty and profound love, one who later, upon his recovery, turned out to be his deceased biological sister, a sister he never knew existed until after his experience, a fact confirmed by his family. These are not isolated incidents. These are not vague fantasies. These are accounts from people, many of them scientists, doctors, pilots, military personnel. People trained to trust empirical evidence, now testifying to a reality that defies explanation. Testifying that death isn't the final curtain. It's a transition, a return. So what really happens when the body ceases, when the brain falls silent? No one knows for sure, not with scientific certainty. But these collected stories, these echoes from the edge of existence, they crack the door open. And they all whisper with astonishing consistency the same strange truth. You don't vanish into nothingness. You don't cease to be. You remember. The specific visions vary, colored perhaps by individual experience or belief, but the core elements resonate. Some see cities made of pure, pulsating light. Others walk through vast, impossibly beautiful gardens filled with vibrant colors and music that seems to originate from the very plants. Some encounter beings of light, guides, or deceased loved ones who appear vibrant and whole. And a recurring, profoundly psychological event, the life review. Not a judgment, not a passive viewing, but an immersive, panoramic reliving of their entire life. And crucially, they often experience it not just through their own eyes seeing what they did, but through the feelings they created in others. One man described watching a moment he had long forgotten. An outburst of anger, yelling harsh words at his young son. And in that moment, he didn't just recall his own frustration or anger. He felt his son's pain, his confusion, his heartbreak, as if it were his own. And that visceral understanding of impact was described as the hardest, most humbling part. Because there is no hiding in the light, no lying to yourself, no editing the uncomfortable parts, no rationalizing hurtful actions. Only absolute, unvarnished truth, seen and felt from every perspective. Another woman from California, a pragmatic artist, said she found herself in a vast, infinite field of stars. She wasn't walking among them, she was the stars. She described dissolving the boundaries of her individual self, merging into everything she perceived, into trees, into rivers, into the air, into the consciousness of birds, even into the fleeting feelings of strangers she had once passed on the street. She could feel the interconnectedness of all things. When asked if she thought this was heaven, the pearly gates she'd heard about, she simply said no. "It wasn't a place I went to," she explained. "It was a state of being, a state of remembering." The great Swiss psychoanalyst Carl Jung, a man who delved into the deepest unconscious layers of the human soul long before it was fashionable or even acceptable, grappled with these very ideas. He once stated with quiet conviction, "The soul does not have size or mass or subatomic particles. It is not bound by time or death." Jung himself had a profound experience bordering on an NDE in 1944. After suffering a severe heart attack confined to a hospital bed, he felt himself rise above his body. He wrote about it with startling clarity. "I existed in a form that was not physical. Everything I had thought and done and said, all the people I had known, appeared as one great web of relationships, a tapestry of my existence seen from a distance." Jung didn't speak of meeting deities or passing judgment. He spoke of absolute clarity, of finally seeing the entire map of his life and perhaps all existence from a vantage point beyond the physical world. And in that seeing, realizing, he was fundamentally more than his thoughts, his body, his personality. He was the awareness, the observer behind the eyes. Now the skeptical mind, grounded in materialism, will offer the immediate explanation. Well, these are just chemicals firing in a dying brain. The brain is starved of oxygen, creating hallucinations. It's a final, desperate surge of electrical activity. But here is where that explanation falters. Here is the significant problem that science so far cannot reconcile. Some of these people were not just dying. They were clinically brain dead, their electroencephalograms EEGs flat, no measurable cortical activity, no electrical function indicative of dreaming or hallucination. Yet, they describe incredibly vivid, structured, coherent, and most importantly, profoundly transformative memories. Experiences that occur when the supposed source of consciousness, the brain, is entirely offline. That doesn't sound like dying. That doesn't sound like the lights going out. That sounds like an awakening, a turning on of perception beyond the physical. And here is something else you should know about these returnees. Perhaps the most poignant detail of all. Many of them didn't want to come back. They experienced a state of peace, of love, of pure belonging so profound they begged the beings of light, the guides, to let them stay. To remain in that state of remembering, to not be forced back into the heavy, often painful constraints of the physical world. But they were told consistently with unwavering clarity, "It's not your time. You still have work to do. Your purpose here is not yet complete. Someone still needs you." And when they wake, torn from that state of perfect peace and thrust back into the limitations of their bodies, it's never the same again. Their values shift dramatically. Their priorities realign. Some abandon successful careers they once cherished. Some who never touched a brush start painting with intense passion. Some dedicate their lives to healing others, but almost universally, they start living with less fear and more truth, more authenticity. So what if this experience is a glimpse, a preview? What if death isn't a punishment for how you lived? What if it's not even a final destination you arrive at? What if it is simply a transition? From the deafening noise of the world to profound silence, From the temporary story you believed was you to the eternal self. From a state of enforced forgetting to a state of absolute remembering. And if that truth holds, if this is what awaits, then maybe, just maybe, we have been afraid of the wrong thing our entire lives. Not afraid of death itself, but afraid of what death might reveal, about how we truly lived, about who we truly were beneath the surface, about what we ignored, what we postponed, what we failed to see while we were busy pretending to be fully awake in this world. Think about it deeply. What if you are not simply a physical body that flickers into existence and ends in death? What if you are a soul, a spark of consciousness, infinite and ancient, that briefly chose to wear a body, to experience the physical plane, to learn, to love, to grow, yes, but ultimately, to remember what it had always known before it entered the forgetting? You've felt echoes of it already, in dreams that felt more real, more significant than your waking hours, in moments of profound silence or solitude that suddenly became sacred, charged with unseen presence. In instances of déjà vu so powerful they left your spine shivering, hinting at memories you shouldn't have. That wasn't mere imagination playing tricks, that wasn't random neural firing. That was memory, your deeper, ancient memory, peeking through the veil of the physical mind. You weren't meant to forget forever, you were simply meant to remember slowly, patiently, when your mind is quiet enough, when the world is still enough, to hear what's always been whispering beneath the surface of your awareness. So when you close your eyes for the final time, maybe you'll see an overwhelming, brilliant light, or maybe you'll find yourself in a boundless field of stars. Maybe you'll be greeted by your mother, vibrant and young again, or your childhood pet waiting faithfully, or a version of yourself you thought you lost forever in the years. And maybe, just maybe, in that state of pure knowing, you'll see and feel all the people you've ever touched with kindness, all the love you gave freely but forgot in the rush of life, all the pain you caused through carelessness or ignorance but couldn't face in the ego's defense, all the intricate connections, all at once, and you'll finally truly understand. Not with your rational head, which you left behind, but with your soul, with the core of your being. And then, in that space beyond time and form, you will have a choice to stay in that state of profound peace and knowing, or to return, to begin again, perhaps in a new form, a new lesson, or to finish what you started in this life, to integrate the knowing you just experienced. And if you return, you'll wake up gasping for air in a hospital bed that feels alien, in a body that feels foreign and heavy, with tears streaming down your face and a truth lodged in your chest that you won't have the words to explain. And people will gather around you, the doctors, the nurses, your family. They will try to comfort you, try to rationalize what you experienced. They will tell you it was a dream. It was just your brain shutting down. It was nothing real. But you will know better, because something inside you that was once noisy and fearful will be very quiet now, and very still. And it will whisper with the clarity of absolute truth, "You have seen the other side. Now, live like it. You are not a body that contains awareness. You are awareness briefly wearing skin. You are not ending. You are not dissolving. You are becoming.